right. Hello, everybody. I know that I'm talking to a bunch of different people at a bunch of different times. This part of the video is going to be initially released Saturday, August 1st, and then re-released as an introduction to our message on Sunday, August 2nd. And the reason we're doing all this is we want to give you the lowdown on what you can expect over the next month and a half to 2 months with Northridge. Today, or yesterday, on August 1st, our e-magazine went out for the month of August, and in it there were some fairly significant announcements. We announced several staffing alterations, but one major staffing change, and that's the hiring of Alex Brown. And Alex Brown will be serving as our music worship director, and we're just very, very excited to have him. We know Alex. He's come and served when we've had times of need, and he's led at Northridge before. You'll recognize him when you see him. He's a good man. He's the kind of guy you like having in the room. We sure love him as our staff, and we know you're going to grow to love him as well. Very talented. And he's just got a heart after God, and we're just really excited about what God's going to do through worship ministry here at Northridge, through Alex Brown. And so we welcome him. That was one of the major announcements. The second one was a survey that has gone out. Now, it went out again originally either this morning, August 1st, or yesterday. And hopefully we're catching as many people as possible. We want every one of you to complete this survey, to give us a picture of what our needs are going to be in September as far as meeting opportunities. If we find we've got 1,000 people who want to meet on a Sunday morning, we're going to have to make some adjustments to how we do things, especially in a way that kind of prevents overlapping, and we just want to consider all the COVID things. And so we need to hear from you the time that you think that you would be coming in for a Sunday service. Now, we're not going to hold you to it, because every week we're going to send out an opportunity, or we're going to make available, an opportunity for you to register. And this is going to have to be something we do for the foreseeable future, where you're going to go through and fill out a form. We're going to try and make it as simple as possible. And that's going to alert us to the fact that you are planning on coming at such and such a time. And it's going to be first come, first serve. We're not going to be able to take everybody in the times they want to come. And so you'll get in the habit of signing up for the time that is convenient to you. And if you don't, you're going to find times, hopefully, that will be sort of convenient. So those are kind of the big things that are happening. We're really excited. Again, September 12th, we'll be holding our first official SNL Saturday night gathering here at Colleen Finley Place. And then Sunday morning, we'll see how many services it's going to take to accommodate everybody. We're excited to bring you back into the building. We'll be careful, be safe. Jen McMillan is another staffing addition. We've expanded her role to be the coordinator for all of our COVID considerations. And she does it innately well. She's already volunteered so much time. But we've got her professionally doing this now, looking into what needs to be done and taking care of us so that we do it right come that Saturday and Sunday morning. So those are the big things coming up. Also in the month of August, we've got our prayer walk. That's coming later in the month of August. And it's going to be an opportunity to walk the grounds inside and outside of the building. Again, we've got some things we've got to do, some research and some figuring out as to what the best practices are for bringing our group together. And then Saturday, September 12th, there's lots of advance notice. You've seen it on Facebook. We're having a work bee. The building and the property are just, they're getting more and more beautiful every day that goes by. But we really want to put our stamp on this place. We want to bless the landlords, and we want to prepare this space for the invitation of all the people that will be coming on the weekend of the 12th and 13th. So on the morning of the 12th of September, we're going to be gathering and holding a work bee, just really making this place sparkle. All right, that's lots of stuff. Again, this is coming to you if you subscribe to the email. It's coming right into your email inbox Saturday morning. But if you didn't, I don't know why you haven't. Just go to Email Together at our website, and you can sign up for that. But otherwise, it's Sunday morning, you're hearing this, and hopefully we're catching as many people as possible. That's it for now. For those of you watching on Sunday morning, we're going to go right now into our teachable moment and teach some more Proverbs. Can't wait to talk to you and see you in real life very soon. Okay. Cannot believe it's August already. August 2nd, week 9 of our Getting There series. And we're in Proverbs 29 again. Just 2 verses after our last week's message. So Proverbs 29:17 says this: "Discipline your child, and he will give you rest. He will bring you happiness." The question is this, and last week we asked what their biggest parenting fail was. This week, we've asked them, what is your greatest success as a parent?
We might be a little biased, but I think we've raised 3 pretty good kids, and to see how they treat other people and how they've turned out, they do well in school, they're well liked by their classmates, teammates. I think that's great to see. And when you get the people that tell you stories about how your kid, when you're not around, how your kid treats other kids, that to me that's really fun to hear. And I've had each one of our kids where other parents come up to me and say, hey, I just got to tell you about your kid, because this is the way they treated my kid who was younger. They took out the time to talk to them when other kids wouldn't, or treated them well. To me, that's fun, because like for all the hard work, it's nice to know that sometimes some of that's getting through their
Absolutely,
skulls, right?
I agree, because I think that the greatest success is hearing how your child behaves when you're not there, and it gets more rewarding the older your kids get, because there's more experiences when you're not there. And for me, those have been the best parts, are hearing those times where when nobody else is watching, that your kid has been kind and has cared for people that maybe other people don't, or has included people. Just all of those things of integrity and honor that you try and instill in your kid. And when you hear about those things happening, it feels good.
And as they grow older too, then you look and you've done lots of work, lots of gardening, you've watered lots, had to pull lots of weeds, but when you see them maturing into a great young adult, that's fun to see. Like, they're making smart decisions for adult kids, right? And they're grown up, but even though they still feel like they're little kids at some days, other days it's fun to see.
Go for it. So the next question is, what's your greatest success as a parent? I like this one better. That we survived, and for the most part, it was a very fun ride. We enjoyed being parents. Got to do a lot of silly things with them, and it was good. But another one of my prayers as the kids were growing up was asking God if he would let me know in my heart when our kids had definitely committed their faith to the Lord. So Dave and I had planned a trip away, and we actually left our 3 driving teenagers home alone. And it was just a weekend. But Tanya, as she always did, and people used to give her a bad time for it, but when she was wanting to do something that wasn't probably kosher or good, she would let me know. Like one time she was wanting to skip school and go to a hot tub of her girlfriends, the 5 of them together. And so she told me, and I said, well, that's fine. And And so they did. And so the other girls found out that Tanya was allowed to, so that's what they did. But this one, she said to me, she says, Mom, when I was doing my part-time job, I found a package of cigarettes. And Stacy and I are going to smoke them while you're away. So I thought, oh, yes, what do you do? And so what happened was I saw Barb and Brian, who were our youth leaders, and they were just over the fence. So I just said, Barb, just want you to know, if you see smoke rising, it's just the girls smoking cigarettes. and I left it at that, and off we went. And I didn't even really worry about the kids. I trusted them by that time. But anyway, when we got home on the weekend, I didn't ask them, did you go to church? Because we hadn't gone to church, so we weren't going to ask them that. But they right away started telling us that who was on the worship team and what the sermon was about. And it was then I knew that I don't have to worry about them anymore. They are launched. And then now I've moved my focus onto our grandkids.
Well, the question is, what do we feel is our greatest success as parents? And my answer is for you young men who are thinking about getting married. Because my greatest success as a parent was finding a woman to be my wife who would make a good mother. And that should be the end of my answer, but I'm going to carry on. For my part as a dad, I think there was 4 goals that I tried to instill in my kids. And I'll just list them briefly. The first one was work ethic. And I tried to model to my kids at home, around the house, and at church work bees, etc., a good work ethic. And that included finishing what I started and doing my very best at whatever I attempted. And believe it or not, that's what the scripture asks us to do. So that would be my first thing that I tried to teach my kids. The second one was financial responsibility. We tried to teach our kids the value of saving and teaching them the difference between wants and needs. And I'm really proud of all 3 of our kids. They do a good job at handling their money, and they've done a really good job at passing that on to our grandkids as well. The third thing that I tried to model was respecting other people. Even if you disagreed with them, you didn't have to be rude to them or mean to them. And that respecting included reaching out and helping the poor, and especially widows and single moms. I just really feel that God calls us dads to do that. And the last 4th thing that I hope I passed on to our kids as a dad was modeling faithfulness to the Lord. And I'm not overtly one of these guys that has a testimony and is always talking about the Lord. My testimony is very quiet, and I believe what the Bible says is that deeds are even more valuable than words. So I hope that I have modeled to my kids the value of serving God in everything we do.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Probably, what comes to mind is the kids doing cool things with us, like biking and hiking and camping and skiing and snowboarding and canoeing and kayaking, and all of those things are great.
I was really proud of Caleb last week because there's a lady that comes and collects pop cans, and her cart was broken and she was a bit disheveled, and we said, how are you, do you need help? And she said no, but as we were walking away, Caleb's like, she won't have enough time to get the pop cans she needs today, can I give her mine? And I said, sure. So he literally ran home and got this lady a big can of pop bottles that he had been collecting for his own purposes and own interests, and he gave those all to her, and I sent him with a little snack, and he just said, here you go, hope you have a better day, and left. So it's like little snippets of that I go, okay, we're not messing them up too badly yet.
Well, I would say that is seeing the kind and caring parents that my children have become. There's nothing better than that, than to see them be such awesome parents and how they discipline their kids and how much they love their kids and teach them lessons along the way. That is so heartwarming as a parent.
But Gina, I think our greatest success is what we see today.
Yeah, amen.
You know, we have 2 daughters that have their own families now. They got 2 wonderful husbands. They're married. Not each girl has 2 wonderful husbands, but the 2 of them.
One each.
One each. But they're married and they're living for the Lord. And they're raising our grandchildren to know the ways of the Lord as well.
They're training up their children.
And so they're training up their children. And that to me is the most wonderful thing that I see as a parent, that the things we went through, we didn't know if we were doing it right at the time, but those times have proven to be successful. And so now we see 2 wonderful families with wonderful grandkids that are learning about the Lord, and that to me is the most successful thing about parenting. Making sure that your kids understand about the Lord and to live that life committed to Him.
Again, it's the... it goes back to, I think, I can't remember what one, but we said it's the culmination. It's... You really don't know what's going to stick. It's... Let's not forget, your kids they recognize that this is your house, your rules. This is a dictatorship.
Or you hope they do.
Well, most kids should understand that in your house it's a dictatorship. And they could just be doing it to appease you. For me, that's what I did. And the culmination is when they get on their own and you see the skills that you've taught them and they're employing it. Those are the biggest.
That takes time.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think just sort of, at this point, and we still, are still parenting a 15-year-old, and we have an 18-year-old who, our version of parenting her is about having it's like a relationship, and so in a different way. And so what I would say to that, the greatest success is to, she had to come home like most people did. COVID-19 affected her being at university, and so she came home and finished her last month online. And obviously, like, happy to have her home, all that stuff. And this has been a really challenging time for everyone for so many different reasons. But I think for me, when I think about this right now, is just to get to a point now as a parent where I see her making choices to have a relationship with us by choice, if that makes sense. And so feeling so blessed that I have that opportunity with her, and that she wants to come and ask questions and wants to talk to us, and not because this is Tuesday night taco night and we're sitting around the table and that's an expectation, but because she would like to come and sit and have a conversation. Yeah. And so if I would say a success, it would be to get to this stage and be able to sort of relish in that.
And for younger parents with younger children, like, that seems so I remember when the kids were little, it seems so far away, but take pleasure in the successes or the things that you teach them and you see them do without you encouraging them or having them do it, whether it be cleaning up their room or organizing something small.
Just great choices in friendships.
And shower them with praise and encouragement when you see that. But know that when you see them do that, they've learned that. You've succeeded in that.
So for me, when I hear something like that, the one instance that usually is the first one that pops up into my mind is when we went, it was Halloween, I don't know, like 4 years ago or whatever. And we're just starting the trick or treat in the neighborhood. Cohen had like a ridiculous R2D2 costume that we made that was way too big and he couldn't walk, but it was fun. And so took a while to get going, and we got to one of the houses that actually backs onto our backyard. So we share sort of a corner post, or we're really close anyways in the back, and so you can kind of hear what's going on in each other's backyards. And so then kids go up to the door, knock on the door, trick or treat, and we didn't really even say much to them. And then I think I just said like thanks or something like that, or some small one line thing. And then the man that answered the door, he's like, I recognize your voice. And I'm like, what? I thought, oh no. This is my first thought, right? And then he goes, yeah. He's like, you live just behind my house, don't you? And I'm like, oh yeah, these are the boys. And he's like, oh, yeah. He's like, more often than not, I can hear you guys in the backyard, and I can hear you playing with your boys. And he's like, every time when I hear you playing in the backyard with your boys, he's like, I look to my wife and I say, that's a good dad that I hear. And so, for me, that's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say that our boys idolize you and think that you're the Hulk, but
I did dress up as the Hulk for Halloween one time too.
I don't know. I think it's so much easier to recognize our failures and our shortcomings. At least for me, I struggle with that. And I know that there's lots of nights where I go to bed and I pray that tomorrow will come and that we get a do-over and can have a fresh start and have a better day. And but I think really the fact that we have healthy and happy kids, and that they are happy, it speaks to that we must be doing something right. And so I guess I can just find joy in that, and yeah, that's.
And it's funny that you said the do-over thing, because I know like there's nights where maybe things didn't end as well, and that's one of the things that we say to the boys when we're, like we said in the earlier one, where we have our conversations when it's bedtime, and it's like, okay, well, it was a rough night tonight, but tomorrow's a new day, we get a do-over, and so we're gonna both work better the next day on how we're gonna work together.
I mean, Ryan and I we're just around a lot. We try to be around with our kids as much as we can, and I feel like I would hope that most people would say that they're, polite and thoughtful of others. And I think I've heard that from other people, and that's nice to hear. And I think I'm pretty excited about, even just in the last few years, how we've spent time just being really just talking about Jesus all the time. I mean, it's what we want them to know when they think about us as parents and back in their childhood, that they were surrounded by parents and in a home where the name of the Lord was on our lips, and that we that's what we want, and I would hope is going to be our greatest success as parents, that they would ultimately follow Jesus and love and know him, and but I don't think we're there yet. We've only been doing this for a decade, so.
What's your greatest success as a parent? And I think for me, my greatest success is that our kids, our family enjoys being together, and so kind of investing in making memories with them. I think from it's so much work to go on family outings and family vacations. It gets easier as they get older, but I think investing in that and making kind of carving out time for those positive family experiences has made it so that something they still look forward to is time together with family, playing games. Anytime that we can carve out together, they're happy to be a part of it. So I'm thankful for that.
Well, I'm thankful that you kind of impose that on us. I know that I would be the type of parent where I know everybody's going to be happiest if they're all on their own devices, watching their own shows. They're not going to fight. But Carolee would force it on us sometimes when it felt a little uncomfortable, and it's led to a beautiful place where the norm in our home when we're all stuck in this COVID time together is to play games just about every night and compete and laugh, and I appreciate that. I think the other thing that I feel good about when it comes to our kids is that we've raised confident kids. So we've got kids that are willing to try just about anything. They'll put themselves out there, and to varying degrees, they're not afraid of failing, and that to me feels like a success. All right, welcome back. Some of you might be saying, okay, enough with the Proverbs already, and enough on the teaching on discipline. We get it, and I feel like I've kind of been beating you over the head with it, disciplining you in the book of Proverbs. But we're going to spend a couple more weeks. In fact, this week and next week are going to be a bit of a part 1 and part 2. We're going to take you to, and by the way, the kids are playing out in the sprinkler outside. That's what the giggling and stuff you hear outside. In this week, we're going to really focus in on Proverbs kind of in general. And then we're going to tip the cap to where we're going next week as we kind of conclude this idea of discipline in parenting. But it's another interesting one, challenging for some. I'm just going to read through the verses. Proverbs 29:17, it says this: "Discipline your son, and he will give you rest. He will give delight to your heart." Now you'll see it's not talking about the rod. Last week we talked about shame. This week we finally get to start to get to the payoff of discipline. And I've shared several times, and those of you who know our family know that we're parenting kids who are moving into adulthood. In fact, 2 of them are certifiable adults. Certifiable? They're certified adults, 18 and 20 years old. Emily's 16. And so, as parents of older kids, we're starting to see the benefits of the hours and days, weeks, months, and years of investing into our kids. Now, the word investing, when it comes to humans, I think can be a bit of a hard one for some people. People don't like to think of us in the same way as money and stuff like that. But I think it's a worthy word in the sense that we give so that someday we can receive. Someday we can sit back, look at our kids, and just go, wow, it was hard work, but it's worth it. And I'll brag about my kids for a little bit right now. You know, we're 5 humans living in one house during this COVID time, and so we have some tough times. We've had some pretty good bus stops when it comes to arguing about different things. But you know what? It's a lot more cake than it is vegetables right now. I don't like my vegetables. It's a lot more of sitting back and just kind of looking, surveying my adult kids and enjoying who they've grown up into. And this is the fruit of years of labor. Now, if you're watching me preach for the first time, you might think, what an egomaniac, thinking he's such a good parent. But those of you who know me know that I'm pretty vulnerable about my flaws. And in the same way as a parent, I've made every mistake in the book, twice. But I've been parenting with my wife, Carol Lee. She's kind of done all the heavy lifting. I kind of come in as, I'm the Robin to her Batman. But together, we've invested 20, 18, and 16 years of our lives into our kids. And if you're a parent, you get it. Even if you're doing a diet version of parenting where you're not really giving it your best, you're not all in, it's still a lot of work. But for those who have really dug in and made it a mission field, the beautiful part of all those years of discipline is that fruit at the end of it. I'm just going to read the verse again, verse 19. It says, "Discipline your son, and he will give you rest. He will give delight to your heart." Don't have my glasses on, so it's hard to read. And you know what? It's true. When we attend to discipline, again, I'll go back to an example from 2 weeks ago. When we see our kids going off the path, we have a choice. We can just kind of like let them do their own thing and find their way and hope that they come back to the path that God has for them. But when we dig in and when we see them going off the path and we help point them back, we're just constantly bringing them back to where God wants them to be. There comes a time where they start to do it more naturally, start to learn the beauty and the benefits of being on that path. And they start to find that path in their stride for themselves. And it can bring rest. It's such a blessing to sit back and watch your grown children demonstrate the things that you've worked so hard to bring into their lives. And that lines up perfectly with the book of Proverbs as a whole. Now, we've taught about this several times. It kind of started last summer, where we taught through the books of wisdom. And Proverbs is a book that kind of creates almost a formula, where if you do this good thing, it's more likely that this good thing is going to come out of it. We planted a garden this spring. And Carolee, one of the things she planted was potatoes. We've never planted potatoes before. But Carolee's Irish on both sides. Her maiden name is Keating and her mom's maiden name is Shea. Irish on both sides. So there's something in the way that she tended that garden. And I don't know if you know about potato plants or potatoes, how they grow. But obviously they're a root vegetable. They do their work under the soil. But the plant, I couldn't believe it. If our bed was here, some of the potato plants were this high. And they made the most beautiful purple and yellow flowers. And they're huge. They just dominated our garden bed. Well, this week, Carolee said, you know what? We're supposed to pick them after the flowers come. Let's pull one. And she pulled one plant out. And one seed of potato. And when I say seed, I'm talking about a potato that's kind of growing in eyes. I don't know how to say it. But one potato, it gave birth to 16 potatoes. On that one plant, there were 16 viable potatoes. And just as the book of Proverbs says, if you plant the seed and if you tend to it, giving it water, make sure it gets sunshine. You take care of the weeds around it. You keep the slugs away. If you do that, you're going to reap a beautiful harvest. You're going to be blessed. Conversely, the book of Proverbs is very explicit as well about if we do bad things, it's very likely bad things are going to happen. Bad things are going to come out of it. If I'm lazy, if I never get up till noon every day, I'm going to miss out on opportunities that happen before noon. The world's going to pass me by. It's not the best for me. If I'm mean to my neighbor, the thing that comes out of that is I have a bad relationship with my neighbor. Proverbs is all about that cause and effect. If you do this, then this will happen. If you do this good thing will probably happen. If you do this bad thing, this evil or foolish thing, this bad, evil, or foolish thing is probably going to happen. And so, what we do in our home, and what you do in your home, is you try and stack the odds in your favor. And you sow into your kids. You try and teach them the discipline. And you teach them this positive discipline so that this positive result can come out of it. We do this as a church. We're going to hammer home even more our vision as a local church to really minister to children and families. It's been in our DNA since day one, but we're going to wave that flag from the mountaintop that we are the church for children and young families. We're really going to invest heavily, and there's that word again, we're going to give ourselves heavily to that vision because we want to stack the odds in our favor. I remember in Delta, the hockey rink had a slogan on it. It says, "It's better to build a boy than mend a man." And many of you have heard it. That's not a proverb. It's not from the Bible, just a saying, but it's a good one. It's better to teach our children the way they should go than it is to have to fix their broken bodies and broken hearts as adults. And if you're an adult, especially an adult who's gone through some brutal times because of your behavior, you know that to be true. It would have been better to stay on the path. And that's what we want for our children and for our families, is we want to teach them the way they should go so that when they are old, they won't depart from it. That's who we want to be as individuals, as families, and as a church community, so that we can affect our city. We want to affect this neighborhood, this city of Maple Ridge for Christ. Now, the only other part to this is the part we're going to talk about next week. Some of you have parented by the book. And when I say the book, I mean by the good book, by God's word. You've done everything that you could do to build into your children and teach them the way they should go. And whether right now you're experiencing a season where they're off the path and they're just rejecting everything you've taught them, or maybe it's a lifetime of rejection. Either way, we're going to talk about that next week. Because it can be really frustrating, it can be really disappointing. We can get angry at God when we do everything we know how to do. And still our child, or sometimes the person we're discipling, somebody special to us, they still don't receive and follow that path that God has for them. It can be really hard. We'll get to that next week. And I'm looking forward to coming to that next week. It's an important part of understanding discipline, of understanding the books of wisdom, of understanding our Creator and our Father a little bit better. Well, you're going to get a chance to get to know the Creator and our Father a little bit better by visiting His creation. Today, we're off to Mike Lake in Golden Ears Park. You might have to check online and register and declare that you're going there, because it is a park. Hopefully we'll have some information for you, but you might want to look into that before you get in the car and start driving. But it should be a great day. Happy, what is it, BC Day? No, Canada Day. Yeah, happy BC Day. I don't know what holiday it is. Enjoy it, find some rest, find some time together as a family, and we'll see you next week.